Hello, I'm going to date stamp this video as the evening of the 25th of October, the evening of the day that Rishi Sunak officially became our Prime Minister and Jeremy Hunt continued as Chancellor. So what does that mean for tax and financial planning? We'll find out more next week on the 31st of October. We already know that we've had those reversals of tax changes that were proposed originally by Liz Truss. So what else could we get to hear about on the 31st of October, given that the Prime Minister today said that there are difficult decisions to come, and they will be difficult. There'll be decisions on predominantly spending and taxation with the aim of restoring public finances, but doing it in a way that doesn't accelerate the risk of recession and is done in a compassionate way, being conscious of the very real needs of the British public at a time when the cost of living continues to increase. Spending decisions will clearly have an impact on public finances and will have an impact on public services and on benefits more directly in relation to financial planning. Then taxation will have an impact. But what else could we have? We have had the kicking into the long, indefinite grass, the bringing down of the basic rate to 19%. And that's no longer on the agenda. We've had the continuation of the freezing of the many of the allowances and thresholds for income tax, CGT and inheritance tax. I suppose there could be a further elongation of that period beyond 2026 to have more stealth tax, as it were, but in a way that doesn't have an immediate impact. We've already had confirmation that we're going to have an increase in corporation tax. It's hard to see how that's going to get even higher unless there is some additional form of windfall tax that's going to be proposed. We've had the removal of the originally proposed increase by Rishi Sunak of the national insurance amounts by 1.25% contributions, class 1 and class 4, 1.25%, which were reversed. Could they be brought back in for the purpose that they were originally intended, i.e. to be used specifically to fund the NHS, which of course is another government challenge that they have and commitment that they have made, part of the manifesto, to support the NHS. So that's important. So Mervyn King said at the weekend, I found this an interesting reminder that if you're going to if the objective is to get as much money in as you possibly can, you need to apply the tax across a wide tax base. And that means income tax, NIC and VAT. They're clearly the biggest generators of taxation in this country. But it's hard to see how, against those statements made today by the Prime Minister and that recessionary risk, how you can increase income tax, NIC or VAT, other than in the ways I've just referred to. Excuse that, my nose was a bit itchy, so I just had to do it. Corporation tax, we already know that that's going up, as I've already mentioned. What else could there be then? Taxes on the rich plays very well, clearly would have political support, but doesn't generate an awful lot of money. Capital taxes in particular were looked at by the Office of Tax Simplification, and there has been some talk, rumoured, at least in the press, around what there could be, and capital gains tax, of course, has raised its head, i.e. those OTS recommendations, taxing capital gains in the same way as income. But it won't generate an awful lot of money, and certainly not inheritance tax either. And because of the Chancellor's partner being non-dom, there has been more discussion around the importance of perhaps reviewing the non-dom rules. Keir Starmer said that that is something that the Labour Party would do. So there we are in terms of the round of tax that we could, basically a summary of the potential tax increases that could be considered next week. But if the aim is to get more money in, then none of those taxes on the rich are going to generate an enormous amount of tax, the sort of tax that's required to fill the hole in public finances. We could have an elongation of the period over which that hole is required to be filled, of course. The spending decisions are going to be really, really important as a contributor. Of course, we have the underlying need to ensure that government departments spend their money more wisely. When it comes to taxation, whilst taxation increases are not definitely off the table, it will be really interesting to see what is proposed next week. And of course, we will be covering it in depth and at speed within Techlink.